The question we get asked the most is, what are the SLFs, the state liaison functions? The state liaison functions are basically a transition tool to help us move from peacekeeping to peace building. We were mandated to do this by the Security Council, and we were provided $45 million over a period of 2 years to work together with the UN country team on this mechanism. The first thing we tried to do is look at where we had comparative advantage to work together as the UN. We looked at conflict triggers, and we agreed on 3 where we felt we had comparative advantage to work together. This was the conflict trigger of land, the conflict trigger of resources, speaking about water, grazing land, and the conflict trigger of people returning to their areas of origin. We said it made sense to work in 4 sectors: human rights, rule of law, immediate service delivery, basic services, and livelihoods. As the UN country team and UNAMID, we consulted with government to come up with a package of services. We provided over 100 UNAMID staff to the UN country team to deliver on these programs. So this, in essence, is what the SLFs are about. Once it's too soon to talk about impact, we can talk about results of the SLF. In year 1 alone, we have supported 10,000 people, women, men, youth, and their host communities who have returned to the areas from which they have been displaced. We have conducted trainings for over 60,000 individuals in institutions in the areas of human rights, in rule of law, in violence prevention activities, which we feel are key to stabilization. We have built over 29 different types of courts or refurbished them. We have built 15 police stations, including community police stations. We have built over 49 different types of infrastructure, which have been key to stabilizing communities. And what makes this different from a regular development type programming is we've concentrated in areas, or concentrated on areas, where we believe that conflict is very easily triggered. And so these types of initiatives are to reduce tension or give communities access to justice, access to resources, to in fact reduce the tensions. I've spoken about the good stories, what has gone well with the SLFs, but they've also been challenges. And we believe that these challenges have shown the flexibility of the SLFs. For example, the SLFs were conceived before the protests began in Sudan, and before we saw a change of government, a change of regime. And through it all, the SLFs have been constant. We were worried at a certain point when the Constitution was suspended that somehow the work we were undertaking would become unlawful. So the lawful would become unlawful. We were able to quickly adjust the SLF programming and focus more on community-based activities rather than focusing on institutions. When we saw COVID-19 break out globally and here in Sudan, we were able to very quickly reprogram $1.9 million in support of government and community to address the COVID, to provide COVID response. We supported health centers, we supported clinics, we supported communities with training on how to manage the COVID outbreak. We supported government to set up isolation centers, providing them PPE, providing them equipment, providing them training. So this to show that the SLF while it was intended to move along one pathway, as our operating environment shifted, we were also able to adapt the SLF to address the emerging challenge. Ultimately, whether it's government, it's the UN operating, or the communities, we all want the same thing. We all want a peaceful Sudan that includes Darfuris, a peaceful Sudan, a peaceful Darfur, where people are able to realize their dreams. We're very grateful for DCAF, ISAT, for coming to conduct this lessons learned, because without learning lessons, whether they're positive or they're challenges, it will be difficult to move forward.